NFL draft nerds, welcome in. It is officially Senior Bowl week, and I'm absolutely fired up for it. I'm not in Mobile, but we are going to be monitoring this thing from afar. So much talent out there this year. I think, Jim Nagy just does an incredible job getting great prospects there every single year. So we're going to talk about this Senior Bowl class a little bit here, talk about the strengths, weaknesses, and just get into it. I can't wait to watch these practices. Obviously, going to have to do so on TV, not going to be there in person. But I do want to remind y'all, this is an extremely small piece to the puzzle when it comes to the NFL draft for teams, right? It's more about interviewing players, talking with other GMs and scouts around the league here at the Senior Bowl, getting a feel for who these people are. More so than the practices. The practices can matter, though, certainly. Some guys can pop, and maybe you have to go back and reevaluate what you saw on tape and kind of foil that. You also can see guys in different spots, right? Like you maybe see a tackle that can kick inside to play guard or center, vice versa, whatever it may be. So you'll see some different things, different guys, different spots, meet with a lot of players, prospects, talk to other guys around the league, get some buzz. But ultimately, you got to trust the tape. That's the biggest thing. Trusting the tape and doing the background on who these people are that you're potentially bringing into your organization. When you look at this class, quarterback, it's not where you've seen it in some years, certainly. I think that's more representative of the class overall than it is anything that the Senior Bowl kind of, lacks this year. Obviously, Shedeur Sanders did elect to go to Shrine. You do have Jalen Milroe, who I think it's going to be fascinating to see how the draft process goes for him. He could have a big week here. If he's able to throw accurate, on time, take coaching, that could be really big for him. You've got Riley Leonard, Jackson Dart, a couple other guys that, are going to be draftable, certainly. We'll have draftable grades on them. In all likelihood, I think they'll be in the NFL. You've also got Tyler Show from Louisville, who he has a pretty live arm, pretty talented kid. Will be fun to see him out there. And then Dylan Gabriel, who's the best quarterback right now, but does not have a very big arm, does not have great size. But I do think Dylan Gabriel is going to carve out a career for himself in the NFL for a long time, probably as a primary backup. But where you do see a lot of talent, I think edge and defensive line, and then going up against the offensive line group, that's where the best show's going to be this week in Mobile. And that's what's always fun, seeing one-on-ones, seeing team drills. But it's an incredible lineup you've got. When you look at the national team at edge, you've got Donovan Ezraku, who uber productive Boston College guy, 6'2", but 34.5-inch arms. He's got great length, a bag of pass rush moves, brings it every single play. Landon Jackson, who's really freaky with his size and flexibility. He's like 6'5", 270, but insanely flexible with a lot of bend out of Arkansas. Mike Green came in with some shorter arms, but he's got another guy with a bag of pass rush moves and super productive at Marshall. I think at worst is going to be a really good pass rush specialist in the league. Josiah Stewart out of Michigan, who was insanely productive this year, also an undersized guy, maybe 3-4 outside linebacker. Then you look at the American team, Princely Umanmielen. I think that guy has first round written all over him. We'll see if he ends up actually getting up into the first round. But he came in at 6'4", 264, 34.5-inch arms, plays the run well. He's strong, and he is like Donovan Ezraku. I think those two guys have the biggest bag of pass rush moves coming into this week. And he has a deadly inside spin counter, Princely Umanmielen does. So fired up to see both of those. But you've also got Jared Ivey, who's Princely's teammate from Ole Miss, a big edge who can kick inside and rush from the interior as well. Kyle Kennard, who was very productive at South Carolina. Shamar Stewart, one of the freakiest athletes in this class, came in at like 284 pounds, I think, for Senior Bowl, but 6'5", 34+ inch arms, super explosive and athletic at that size, really impressive. And then you look at the defensive line groups, national team, Darius Alexander. He came in with long arms. He's extremely explosive and disruptive out of Toledo. Aeneas Peebles, little undersized, right? So is TJ Sanders on the American team, but both of those guys can really penetrate at a high level. Josh Farmer came in absolutely huge, 35 plus inch arms out of Florida State at 315 pounds. That's a guy who I think can make a name for himself here because quite frankly, FSU fell off the face of the map this year. Yaya Black has a lot of fans out of Iowa. Omar Norman Lott, super explosive off the ball coming out of Tennessee. Now, he was listed at like 315, I think, at Tennessee, came in at 295. So, not quite as big as maybe you thought he was, but I still think he has a nice path forward. How about maybe the two biggest names? Walter Nolan and Dion Walker, both of those guys are on the American team. Walter Nolan has, this guy he was a former top overall recruit in his class a few years back. Now you look at what he has become. I think he has the potential to be the most disruptive interior penetrator 3-tech type in this class, bar none, regardless, of if you're at the Senior Bowl or not. Like Mason Graham, I think more complete player. Walter Nolan, I think, has the most potential to be a disruptive 3-tech. And then Dion Walker, 6'7", 340, 350 pounds, crazy long arms. He's young. I think he's a 20-year-old, so somebody who can certainly continue to mature, fill out his frame a little bit better. I think he carries some bad weight. I think he lacks some lower body mass. I think he plays upright, but there's no denying his explosiveness and the flashes on tape of a real pass rush plan and tools. So he's going to be fascinating to watch. And then you talk about the offensive linemen that these prospects are going to be going up against. And I think you're going to see a lot of movement from a lot of these offensive linemen playing at different spots. Jonas Avenea, Emory Jones, and Armand Membu on the American team. I think all of those guys project as, day 2 at worst. I think Armand Membu, Jonas Avenea could potentially sneak into round 1. National team, Josh Connerly. Now, he's a left tackle. I don't think you're going to see him playing anything other than tackle. But a lot of these other guys, I think, should move around and see what they can do. Gray Zabel came in with shorter arms than you'd like for tackle, so he's definitely you're gonna want to see him move around to guard and center potentially. Marcus Mbow, somebody who people talk about all across the line, you're gonna want to see him moving around as well. But he is a tremendous athlete. It'll be fun to watch him out there trying to put some snatch traps on people and just embarrass his opponents. That's what he likes to do. Ariante Ursary, another one that has some first round buzz. I think he's definitely more of a day 2 tackle, not the most bendy or flexible or quick footed. Ozzie Trapillo, a big boy as well out of Boston College. Wyatt Milam, maybe the cleanest pass protector at left tackle in the class this past year, but does he really have the flexibility, the athleticism, the length to hang at tackle in the league? I think he's got to kick inside and be a really good guard. Quite frankly, that's kind of how I look at it. So those trench battles are going to be incredible. The one-on-ones from offensive line, defensive line are always must-see TV. Looking at some like running back and linebacker can be a little bit difficult to really get a feel for them, but there's good prospects at both of those spots. You'll definitely see some one-on-one blitz pickup from the running backs. You want to see how they do in that regard. And then obviously catching the ball out of the backfield, running these kind of like, out routes out of the backfield, angle, different things. See how the linebackers can keep up. See if the running backs can put them on skates a little bit. But I'm also really fired up for wide receivers and corners. And these one-on-ones are also fireworks, must-see TV, get your popcorn ready, all that good stuff. The top corners here for me that I can't wait to see, there's a lot of big-time names. I mean, Azareye'h Thomas, another guy maybe kind of forgotten at Florida State, but I think he's a first-round corner all day. 6'2", 32.5-inch arms, great length, physical, great press tech, fluid hips, great athlete. I just think that he's a stud. I think he's going to be a starter in the NFL for a long time. Darian Porter out of Iowa State. He came in with over 33-inch arms at 6'2". He's $197, so he's not too light out there. I think that he's going to be really fun to see. He's got tremendous fluidity and athleticism overall. Former receiver playing corner. Quincy Riley out of Louisville plays the game very aggressively. And then Maxwell Harrison and Trey Amos, those are two sleepers to potentially get their names called in the first round. I think that they could have big weeks here as well. Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. And then the wide receiver group is really awesome too. Tez Johnson came in at 156 pounds. I really don't care. And I don't think it's going to impact him much this week. If you're able to scheme this guy up a free release off the line of scrimmage, no one's going to be able to cover him. And you can do that in the modern NFL. Great hands, great route runner, quickness, agility, speed, all of it's there for Tez Johnson. Xavier Restrepo, maybe not the speedster that Tez Johnson is, but he comes in about 200 pounds and he's going to be a slot receiver as well. He is quick and shifty, but he is physical. He is detailed in his route running. He has unbelievable body control, focus with his hands. He's going to be a starting slot receiver for a long time in the NFL. I think Jalen Knoll out of Iowa State and Jaden Higgins. I have Jaden Higgins as a second round guy. I mean, I think he should be really high up the board as a 6'4", 217-pound receiver who runs routes naturally and uses his physicality at extremely high level. Great hands. Jalen Knoll, his teammate, maybe a move Z/slot type of guy, going to be fighting for the back of a roster spot somewhere. Pat Bryant, local kid, Duval kid, who went to Illinois by way of Mandarin High School, I believe. Pat Bryant, he's got the size and athleticism you're looking for, strong hands. Jack Beck, which everybody's going to be honoring his sibling who was unfortunately killed in the New Orleans attack. Bourbon, that was absolutely awful. So a shout out to Jack Beck, but he's a talented dude, 6'2", over 200 pounds. Doesn't have quite as long arms as you would expect for somebody his size, but I don't think that's going to be, debilitating at all for him. I think he's going to be able to compete to be a power slot, maybe a outside receiver. He's got some technical things to work on his release. I think he has a little bit of a false step, but an impressive kid as well. Jalen Royals, I hope he's going to be able to play. I'm not sure. He missed the back end of the season with the foot injury at Utah State, but he is incredibly explosive with great hands and somebody who I think should be a day 2 prospect that might be a steal. Like, because his physical profile at 210 pounds, about, just under 6 feet tall, with his explosiveness and his hands, he could be special. And then Ty Felton out of Maryland, another guy who super productive. He's got some length to him. I think he's been used in a lot of different ways at Maryland and has a chance to be a pretty special, maybe wide receiver 3 at the next level, maybe wide receiver 2. We'll see how it plays out for him. But those are the guys I'm really fired up to watch. This is one of the best weeks of the year. And then I would also be remiss to got to touch on tight end here. Harold Fannin Jr. I was happy that he came in at 238. Thought he was actually playing in like the 220s this year. I think he's going to be somebody that puts on a show. I think Terrence Ferguson has a good chance to show out as well, and Elijah Arroyo out of Miami. And then, hopefully we get some names that I'm not familiar with, that I haven't seen play yet, that I haven't watched, that I can, see what they do out here and then go back and check out the tape and see if it matches up. Because remember, you've got to trust the tape, folks. Like, if you see a guy that just shows out here and then you go back and look at the tape, it's not as impressive. That's kind of a red flag. And then you've also got guys like Green Bay receiver Dontavion Wicks, who had a pretty rough Senior Bowl. Dropped a lot of passes and did not have a great year. His final year at Virginia. And that was a product of circumstance. So you've got to try to contextualize everything you see from everyone to get the best evaluation on these prospects. That's going to do it for this preview. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. It is all draft all the time here at Rogue Football, and I will be definitely dropping some reactions and takeaways from Senior Bowl practices each and every day this week that we've got practice next 3 days. Really appreciate y'all's support. Have a good one.